Welcome to the first episode of the Mind Oracle. Today, we are going to be covering the multi-store model of memory, from the memory topic in ARCA A-level psychology. First, let's take a look at what the multi-store model of memory actually is. The multi-store model of memory consists of multiple stores through which information is transferred. It is important that you learn this diagram. As you can see, the sensory register detects a change or stimulus in the environment, for example watching a new psychology video on YouTube. If we pay attention to this stimulus, it is transferred to a short-term memory. We can keep this information in our short-term memory through maintenance rehearsal, which is when we repeat information. We can also transfer the information to the long-term memory through prolonged rehearsal, which means revisiting the information repeatedly over a long period of time. A key definition we need to learn here is encoding, which means changing information into a format so it can be stored and later retrieved. Next, we are going to be doing a deep dive into the sensory register. The next term is modality-free encoding, which means that the sensory register encodes in a way specific to each of the 5 senses. For example, iconic encoding refers to encoding information processed by the eyes. It is also important to learn that the duration of the sensory register is less than half a second, and it has a very high capacity. Here is a recap of the definitions you need to learn when it comes to describing what maintenance and prolonged rehearsal is. Next, we will cover the short-term memory. The short-term memory collects information from the sensory register if we pay attention to it, as mentioned before. It tends to use acoustic encoding and has a duration of 18 to 30 seconds without rehearsal. Please note that when stating the duration it is important to mention without rehearsal, otherwise you will not score this mark in the exam. The short-term memory also has a capacity between 5 to 9 items. Finally, let us look at the long-term memory. This memory store receives information from the short-term memory if we undergo prolonged rehearsal. It tends to use semantic encoding, meaning that we remember information in the long-term memory based on the meaning of the word. It has an unlimited capacity and duration. Now that we've finished the theory, let's move on to the evaluations and review the advantages and shortcomings of the multi-store model of memory. One of the major strengths of the multi-store model of memory is that it has research support. Murdoch found that words at the end of a list and the beginning of a list are recalled better than words in the middle of a list. This refers to the primacy and recency effect. The primacy effect is the idea that we remember words at the beginning of the list due to prolonged rehearsal, causing the information to be transferred to the long-term memory, and the recency effect is the idea that the words at the end of the list are in the short-term memory due to maintenance rehearsal, so we are less likely to remember the words in the middle of the list. This demonstrates that the short-term memory and the long-term memory store are separate stores, improving the credibility of the multi-store model of memory as an explanation of how information is transferred throughout our memory stores. However, a drawback of the multi-store model of memory is the evidence provided by a case study called KF. This individual struggled to recall verbal information, but did not struggle with visual information. This suggests there are separate auditory and visual stores which the multi-store model of memory does not account for. Additionally, there are 3 types of long-term memory that the multi-store model of memory does not mention, making it an incomplete explanation of memory. If you'd like to explore more resources to support your revision, keep a lookout for our upcoming website, The Orbit of the Mind, which will cover detailed evaluations, flashcards, cheap textbooks and revision notes that will help to secure the top grades without wasting your time. Additionally, if you're interested in psychological topics outside the curriculum, check out our sister channel, Mystic Mind. We cover a range of topics from how to be your most productive self, to paranormal relationships and even the psychology behind love. Make your psychology journey all the more interesting by checking out our link in the description below and subscribing to the Mystic Mind. Now, to check how much you remember, let's try an exam-style question. Pause the video and write down everything you can remember from the multi-store model of memory, and try separating your answer by theoretical knowledge and the evaluations to structure your answer. So just to recap, to score full marks you would need to mention the 3 stores sensory register, short-term and long-term memory, as well as the type of encoding, duration and capacity for each store. Be sure to include key terms such as prolonged and maintenance rehearsal. 2 evaluations you could use are the research support by Murdoch and research against by KF. Thank you and well done for finishing your first bit of revision. If you have any feedback on how to improve our videos to help make your learning more effective, be sure to let us know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe for more revision-based videos, and be sure to check out our sister channel, The Mystic Mind. Our next video on Wednesday will cover the long-term memory. See you then.